All right. Good morning. I will now call to order the Monday, December 18th, 2023 Town Council meeting. If you would, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item on the agenda is the approval of a memorandum of the December 4th regular Town Council meeting. A copy has been posted. Are there questions from councilors? I'll make a motion to approve. Second by Councilor Melton. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is the approval of the December 18th, 2023 claims. Are there questions from councilors? I make a motion to approve the December 18th, 2023 claims.
Second.
I heard Councilor Garrett. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a request to speak on the agenda item. We have one request and it's Paul Dreyer. Paul, if you would come up and state your name and address, and you'll get 3 minutes and I'll let you know when you're coming down the home stretch.
Thank you very much. Unusually, I'll speak very, very quickly. The purpose of this is to address not one, but all of the items on the agenda, as well as in the past. And that is to say, congratulations to all of you. There's great positive results in your work, regardless of the challenges that you've had to fight. Your diligence, honesty, and strength, quite honestly, they impress me every day, and I'm thankful for that. I really am. We're thankful for your wisdom and your intelligence and taking the time to solve a lot of problems that I sure as hell couldn't. And so I'm thankful for that. And most importantly, to every one of you, thanks for voting the way your voters ask you to vote. I know some of you voted against what you really wanted or something may have believed in, but you paid attention to your voters. So that's my message today. Just thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. I'll give you an extra 10 minutes if you want to come back up. Up next is Town Council update. We do have one update. If there's any updates from councilors, I'll certainly give you the floor before we ask Tim to come up, but or if you'd rather wait. Tim, if you want to go ahead and come up. As a little bit of background, this was a request from the administration to share some thoughts on some of the recent tax levy requests and appeals and such, and as well as supplemental distributions and whatnot. And appreciate Tim's ability to come in and willingness to come in and walk through this. So thank you.
Thank you, members of the council. Tim Berry with Crow, financial advisor to the town. Want to give you an update during the budget process. A part of that budget process was a request to the Department of Local Government Finance for excess levy. There were 2 requests that were made. The first excess levy request was for the transition for those areas from rural to urban. And then there was the excess levy that related to the growth in the assessed value of the town over the last 3 years. Reporting back, good news, the Department of Local Government Finance approved both of those excess levy requests. They approved an excess levy of $728,143 in addition to the additional excess or excise tax dollars that the town will receive on the rural to urban area. So there's a total excess levy appeal granted of $769,142 for 2024 for the rural to urban portion. As you will recall, within that request, there was a one-time purchase of equipment in the amount of $415,000. The 2025 excess levy will be reduced back down, eliminating that one-time purchase for $313,143. And that was all within the request that was made to DLGF. As it relates to the three-year growth, DLGF approved $876,876 or $876. With that, there's a total levy growth of $1.656 million for 2024. Again, this was all budgeted within the budget dollars that you approved, the revenue dollars that you approved. So it does not mean there is a windfall of additional tax revenues for the town. What it does mean is that you were able to fund the budget as was expected when we approved the budget back in October. Hard to believe it's been that long now. And then the max levy growth for 2025 will be just over $1.2 million plus the max levy growth quotient for 2025, which is expected to be about 4% based upon legislation that the General Assembly passed last year.
Hey, Tim, can that, and
Yep.
I don't mean to
Nope,
get to
go
the
ahead.
end accidentally, but can that, because it's based on a 3-year cycle, can it be appealed again next year? Or is this a one and done?
Golly, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
That was going to be the next comment. It does not preclude you from moving forward with an excess levy growth appeal for 2025. Your assessed values in 2024 did not raise as much over the rest of the state's average as they did in 2023. But you have that 3-year back look back, and that 2023 figure should still allow you some excess levy growth for 2025 should the town want to move forward with that.
So when we first talked about the excess levy, I thought you had indicated it's automatic year after year. We do have to appeal this year after year.
So the $1.2 million that is approved for 2025 is already set. You will get that plus the maximum growth levy on that $1.2 million. Should the town realize assessed value growth greater than 2%, larger than the statewide average over the last 3 years, again next year, the town would be able to apply for additional excess levy growth as well.
That's all.
And that's part of what I'm going to lead into the next area that really precipitates the need for the action that you took as a town council in October. In our appeal to DLGF, and I'm just going to read right here from this, from the actual DLGF order, the town states that the excess levy is also being used to position itself financially better with the neighboring town of Whitestown. Specifically, the town claims that the town has a lower property tax levy than Whitestown, a community with 2020 census population of 10,183, has a 2023 levy of $17 million, while Zionsville, with 3 times the population, has a current levy of $14.6 million. As a result, the local income tax revenues for Whitestown are more than Zionsville, which has 3 times the population. On this chart here, it shows some comparisons between the town of Zionsville and the town of Whitestown. Your assessed value is greater than 3 times larger than the assessed value of the town of Whitestown. Your population with 2023 estimates is about 3 times greater than that of Whitestown. Your average household income is about 1.5 times larger based upon census estimates than Whitestown. Your operating fund tax levy, though, for operating funds is significantly less than the town of Whitestown's, and your total levy is significantly less than the town of Whitestown. Because of the unique way in which the General Assembly has, or the state of Indiana, based on statute, allocates local income tax dollars based upon a formula that is largely based around tax levy, the town of Zionsville has lost significantly over the last few years in comparison to Whitestown with your lit dollars. In 2023, the total lit distributions that the town of Zionsville received were 18.7 million. That includes both the certified amount as well as the supplemental for both certified shares and public safety. And the lit distribution for Whitestown was nearly $17.2 million. The estimates, though, for 2024, based upon what the state has provided to the town and to all units of government, based upon the tax levies of the previous year, looks at that and changes that allocation, where Whitestown would be estimating to be receiving 17.3 million and the town of Zionsville just over 16.5 million. As you look at a percentage of the city populations between the 3 largest cities and towns within Boone County, Zionsville has approximately 52.5% of the population, yet in 24 is estimated to receive only 37.6% of the lit distributions. While Whitestown has a just over 19% of the population among those 3 cities and towns, they will be receiving 39.5% of the lit distribution. The lit distribution has changed significantly as a result of the state's calculation over the last 4 years. In 2020, Zionsville received 46.4% of total lit dollars allocated among the 3 cities. Lebanon, 26.1, Whitestown, 27.5. Yet in 2024 estimates, and the final numbers have still not been certified by DLGF yet. We're waiting for the final 1782 notices and budget orders from DLGF. But Zionsville is scheduled to receive 37.6%, Lebanon 22.85%, Whitestown 39.54%. Utilizing the same percentage that the town received in 2020 of lit distributions, that would amount to a difference of $3.8 million in annual revenue for the town. Similar situations have happened in communities across the state, and in 2020, the communities in Hamilton County sought and obtained legislation to rebalance the lit distributions within those communities. In 2020, it was
whatever formula they came up with, it's not applicable to all the counties, or it had limited jurisdiction?
The statute had limited jurisdiction, yes.
Okay. So we might be able.
And it
to
was
do-
specific to Carmel, Fishers, Noblesville, Westfield. And it was largely because the growth in lit dollars based upon the calculation, based upon levy that Carmel was receiving was rising at a much faster rate than the other communities, even though their populations were growing as well.
The result of that legislation, was it taking from one community and giving to another, or growth in one community while the other stayed stable?
It was limiting the growth in Carmel to 2.5% annually in local income tax dollars. And the theory and the thinking behind that was by limiting the growth in Carmel to 2.5%, the others would grow faster. So those percentages and allocation would get back in line with population and incomes.
Do you recall when 1114 was first passed, whether or not there was strong resistance from Carmel?
Yes.
Okay, I would have anticipated that. So we would, if something like this were to happen in Boone County, then we would anticipate strong resistance from other communities.
I would assume that, but at the same time, I would think that there would be strong resistance from the town of Zionsville in the fact that your lit dollars over the last few years have grown at a much slower pace than other communities in Boone County.
Thank you.
I assume there is no bigger plans afoot at the legislature to fix this formula versus having to legislate workarounds to the formula. I mean, looking at those numbers are crazy. I think most people probably assume if I am paying local income tax, it is going to my local municipality and not going to my neighboring municipality. No offense to Whitestown or anyone else, but
right.
I mean, I think the one thing we have struggled with, and I say the collective we, the town, is that I think there is an assumption that because we have affluent residents with high income, you said it's 1.5 times with Whitestown, that we are rolling in money, yet we are every year struggling to make ends meet through various, programs, today being ARPA, tomorrow being who knows. Is there any grander plan afoot? I mean, I'm sure there's not a lot of people in the legislature that are going to weep for Zionsville, but like it is woeful. I mean, these are crazy numbers right here. This isn't even close. I mean, it's then 5-10%. Like, yeah, you get it. I mean, that's just insane.
Certainly the General Assembly right now is in the middle of looking at total tax reform. I would assume that this might be part of that as better data is obtained from Department of Revenue to be able to identify where revenues come from. But drastic changes like that also might have huge impacts on other budgets. And so I think they have to look at all of that. I think that's why the 2020 legislation did not eliminate growth, but limited growth of lit dollars.
Well, I applaud your guys' attention to this, the administration bringing this. I mean, this isn't going to be my problem, but President Plunkett, Mayor-elect Stair, I mean, I think however you want to look at this, there's gold to be found if you can fix some of this stuff. I think you do it through lobbying or looking at how others have done it. But if you fix some of this, there's lots of money that goes then towards services here in Zionsville that are being paid for by Zionsville residents.
And part of that is Whitestown has grown, as you're aware, is growing at a rapid pace as well. And they've taken advantage of some of the excess levy growth opportunities, which was why it was necessary for Zionsville to take advantage of that this year to help rebalance that a little bit into the future and make sure that those lit dollars are allocated appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting that, I mean, if our, and I get sort of, I mean, good for them for doing that. If we were on par with them, I mean, our budget would be 3x. I mean, can you imagine all things, you know, if we were at their rate, but with caps, it would be the same taxes to most of our residents, but I mean, that's eye-opening.
Just a correction, our budget would not be 3x, our lit dollars would be 3x.
What's that?
Just a correction on what you said, our budget would not be 3x, our lit dollars would be 3x.
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, but also our operating fund levy too, right? I mean, theirs is
Yeah.
14, ours is 9.
We would.
Maybe not 3x, but it would certainly be, it's a fair point, but it
about
certainly
$4
would
million
be.
more.
What's that?
About $4 million more.
No, I mean, look at these numbers. I mean, our assessed value is 3x, our
Our
population
assessed
is
value, yes.
3x. I mean, our lit, actually, it might even be more than that, right? Because we've got
You're right.
we've got 3 times
right.
population, but we've got also 1.5 times on top of that, the
assessed value
average
and all
income.
that,
That would be
yeah.
4.5x from a income tax standpoint. I mean, the numbers are huge. These are not, I think the $4 million probably comes from if we
Right.
pass the legislation for the catch-up thing, but I'm saying if the funding formula was truly fair, there would be a lot of good things going on.
Yeah, you're right.
The shifts that led to the legislation in Hamilton County were much smaller than the shifts that we're seeing here in Boone County over the last 4 years.
I remember reading about it. I didn't really get it. Like, now there's a bunch of grumbling in Hamilton County, but that's amazing.
Thanks,
And
Tim.
just that, yeah, thank you, Tim, for that presentation, but also for your leadership and continued updating on us. But this is good news about the appeal, and appreciate you bringing that news to us. Thank you.
It was through the appeal process that we really came to see this imbalance and use that in the town's benefit, to obtain the additional levy.
Exactly.
Anything else for Tim?
Just, can you share those slides with us via email?
I will do
please?
that. I will just distribute those slides to everyone
Thank you.
afterwards.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
I do want to make note, we've amended the agenda on the old business items, which we're certainly allowed to do, to eliminate items G, H, and I. Counselor, just want to make sure that everyone's aware of that.
Hold on a sec. That's the non-DLGF budget is I?
No. This is the town court, banners, and fire alarms.
Got it. The paper one I had said the I was
Oh,
the,
okay.
yeah, okay, got it.
Sorry, so this must be, I must have the original.
So I think,
have the updated.
Okay.
yeah, I think Amy updated it, but we, there were still 2 that were missed.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
The
I
original.
just wanted to.
Yeah, so town court, banners, and fire alarms have all 3 been removed. So before we jump into any old business items.
Can I comment on that really quick? Because
Yes.
it's like the reason why it was stated that there were some changes that the administration found that they didn't like we send them all this stuff in advance. We've gone through 2 meetings. We've discussed it. We've voted on it. I'm not saying their feedback isn't helpful. It is, but I don't understand why they wouldn't provide it when they first reviewed it. Either they're ignoring it or they're just like, it kind of boggles my mind that we went through all that time to adjust these. I want to get it right, so I don't mind taking it off to get it right. But like, why wouldn't they reach out the first time they saw it? That's just.
Well, I would agree. I mean, I'm incredibly frustrated for a number of reasons, not the least of which we also increased the legal budget for the mayor's attorney to review these in conjunction with our attorney to go through the process. So that's the frustrating part, is we got to the very end and had meetings on it, approved it. I don't believe we suspended the rules to approve any of those 3. So there's been at least a month of communication on our end about it. And, as that kind of rapid fires through, when it's over, it's a little bit frustrating. So I would agree with that, Councilor Garrett. Are there any other updates from councilors? If none, I will move on to first item of old business. This is a consideration of an ordinance to amend the code of ordinances to revise hosting minors, liquor or controlled substances. This is ordinance 2023-37. This is final reading. Before Heather introduces it, or before Heather walks through this, if anybody has any questions, I would just remind counselors that just like we've done in the past, this is a continuous effort to rewrite and improve our code of ordinances to bring it up to state statute and language associated with the reorganization.
I do have a question. So my assumption is that the mayor is going to veto anything we vote on today, just because that's what she's been doing. So if we vote on this in final reading and she vetoes it, then it's all got to start over again. Since we had the first reading already, if we continued this and let the new council vote on it in the next, I mean, that would avoid the veto process and everything that is coming. So I'm just, is that acceptable?
I think that would be more than acceptable if that's what the council wanted to do. And just a few sort of items to note. So we introduced a number of these cleanup ordinances on first reading with the hope that people would look at them in the in between the meetings and provide any comments. Some of them we did receive comments back, and we did correct the comments or make the changes that were requested by the various department leaders. So we've got one coming up, for example, that Lance pointed out that we needed a change. We've gone ahead and revised that. So I would hope that that's okay to go ahead and move forward with today. I'm okay if we hold it as well. The reason I recommended that we let the veto stand on the others, I mean, the goal is to get this done correctly and to have it done right. And so we want to make any changes that are necessary. I will note on the mayor's 3 vetoes, however, those were not sections that we had made revisions to. So the ordinance wasn't changing them. There was one comment regarding the town court, that it was reestablishing a town court. We've had a town court since 1996, I believe. The only thing we were doing is doing a repeal and replace for convenience of the publisher, so that the publisher would know, just take everything out, put this new language in, but we weren't creating a new town court or going through that process. The other substantive things around fines, for example, in I think the signs and banners ordinance for false alarms, we didn't make changes to those statutes, or to those sections. So I say that only just to maybe say, if there are changes, let us know. I do know some of the ones we're introducing today. I did receive comments back from Amy Nooning and different department leaders. We will redline and bring that back for any, suggestions they had for final reading for your consideration. So there are some things that they did, share back. And then there are a few that were more complicated that we shared in advance to say, hey, could you weigh in on this? So we're trying to make the changes and make sure it's right. And I'd rather hold and make sure they're right than move forward and have, more time taken for the council. So defer to all of you on if you would like to hold these and just bring them back, give everybody a little bit of additional time to look at them. We can have them ready for the first meeting in January.
I kind of like that plan.
Yeah, and that was a lot nicer way to put it than I did. So thank you.
I don't mind continuing. I'm free. I mean, I have an agreement with you.
I'd make, well, I mean,
Hold on a second. Heather, are there any of these that you feel like need to be done based on communication back and forth with department heads and the administration?
I don't think there's any that need to be done. I will share that I think it's in item C, the garbage, weeds and grasses. We did go ahead and make the changes that were suggested, replacing Department of Public Works with Community Economic Development. I do know that pizzazz, I have had some conversations with one of the committee members. They're looking at sort of a global review of all the flora and fauna, weeds and grasses, and they're going to make a recommendation out of that committee to the administration and to the council probably end of the first quarter of next year. So we didn't make any of the substantive revisions. We did share with them that we're just making sort of stylistic revisions. But I do expect that to come back. But I'm okay on holding any of these, which would be A, B, C, D, E.
Should be it, I think,
Yeah.
A through E.
And continuing it to the next meeting. And then with the new business items, then we can work with the folks. And if anybody has changes, hopefully they'll bring them forward between now and final reading.
You just want to make that first January meeting a long one, aren't you?
I don't care.
I'm not opposed to that either. So I don't know if you want to make a motion. Can you make a motion to just A through E, or do we have to go through these individually?
No, I think you could just make a motion to continue A through E.
I'd make a motion to continue A through E.
Second.
We got a first from Counselor Trailer, a second from Counselor Garrett. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next on the agenda, item F is a consideration of a veto override of an ordinance amending the American Rescue Plan Act, Ordinance 2023-19. Heather, is there anything you'd like to, or any counselors, questions, comments, anything you'd like to add to this?
I have some belly aching I'd like to go through, if that's okay. So it's kind of interesting. So the mayor has, I'm going to talk about ARPA and the non-DLGF budget because they are both related. The mayor has line item vetoed the non-DLGF budget for the chamber, Z-Works, and the cultural district, but she has entirely vetoed the ARPA plan, of which that is a part of, but of which everything else is in there that she stated that she supports because it's from her budget. But if it's not in the ARPA plan, it can't be spent, even if it is in the non-DLGF budget. And the thing that she vetoed, line item vetoed, which she is allowed to do in the non-DLGF plan, is the thing that she previously approved the last time we did the non-DLGF plan. So her reasoning about this is that it really needs to go through a process that she controls with her appointments. But that's a bit of a red herring argument, because the first reasoning she gave is the ARPA dollars would be a reporting burden to the grant recipients, which they're not. So now she's claiming it should go through a different process that she controls. But that process we had to interject in through Counselor Trailer, because those grants were being given effectively illegally because they were outside of the bounds of the ordinance. So then we asked to approve all of those because of that. And then it went through another grant process the second year, and those grant recipients also were not in the right, were not qualified based on the ordinance, even though they were good grant recipients, because they were given the wrong information. So we actually had to go through and modify the ordinance to allow those grant recipients who had done a lot of work to get those grants, even though they didn't go through that. Also, the chamber and the Z-Works were originally in her budget that she proposed and has been in her budget every single year, which is unfortunate. But so she states in here that unfortunately we have not come to an agreement on this ordinance. So words are important, and that kind of implies that we're all sitting down for some sort of grand bargain when we disagree on things. But it also implies that she communicates with us, and it's kind of interesting. Like, I don't hear anything from the mayor except for, well, memos, and I did hear from her through the current Zionsville article that she just had, which is titled "Reflections. Emily Styron shares her thoughts in her term as Zionsville mayor." One of the quotes that stuck out to me referring to this council is, quote, "I have ignored them to my best of my ability." So it's kind of hard to come to an agreement with someone who actively ignores you. But, you know, I sort of reflect on my own reflections in the last 4 years, and, you know, why do we not have a relationship with the mayor outside of the fact that she just doesn't show up at these meetings? And I sort of understand that, you know, both sides have faults, but it's really kind of how do you compromise with someone when you disagree with them is how you get things done. The mayor does not compromise. if you want X and she wants Y, she's happy to take Y, but she will not give you X. Maybe that's a perceived character strength. But if you think about buildings or planes, the ones that are engineered to be flexible are ultimately stronger in the end. So like it's the last budget, I think, proves the point where the mayor was not involved. I think we all said that was the most productive budget we've ever had. It was only once she interjected herself back into this process and back into this rigidity that things start going haywire again. So I thought we'd come to an agreement, but clearly we have not through this veto. So, you know, also in that article, she said that they, meaning the council, have gotten absolutely nothing of substance pushed through. Now, I stand by our record. I think we've done a remarkable job, but we've had to spend a whole lot of time fixing their messes. And there's been no partnership to talk about. She also states in the article that, quote, I'm not really a people person. Actually, let me do it exactly. I'm not really a huge people person. The problem here, and if you think about what she's vetoed here, is that who lives in Zionsville? It's people. And people want firefighters to have equipment they need, and they want paths to walk on, and they want events like the summer concert series and the Brick Street Market and Christmas in the Village. I'm a people person. I talk to a lot of them. I've not had anyone come up to me and say, gee, I wish firefighters didn't have breathing apparatus that wasn't expired. I wish we didn't have that new path. I wish that Christmas in the Village would be canceled. You know, life is about compromise. If she doesn't want to do this, I still don't get it. But at some point, you've got to give a little to get a little. This is by far and away the best plan for our community. This will be, for me, if the council agrees, the easiest vote I think I'll have in these 4 years is to override this veto so that we can get these things done for the community. It's been a long 4 years.
Heather, is there anything you'd like to add to the veto?
Nope. You'll just need a simple majority to pass a veto.
Anything else from councilors?
Heather, you had sort of indicated there's a specific motion that needs to be made. Is that for both or just for the line item veto portion?
It's just for the line item veto. You could probably use it for both, but it was just a suggestion for the line item veto.
Well, I'm gonna go with your suggestion on both just to be everything buttoned up, if you'll allow me. So I'd like to move the town council override all line items and language that were vetoed by the mayor in ordinance 2023-42. No, I'm sorry, 2023-29, which is an ordinance amending the American Rescue Plan Act.
Second.
Got first by Councilor Garrett, second by Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. While they're passing that down, up next on the agenda is a consideration of a veto override of an ordinance to amend the 2024 non-DLGF budget. This is ordinance 2023-43. Is there any councilor who would like to comment or question here?
No, and again, sort of reiterating what I said last time, she line item vetoed the grants to the Chamber Cultural District and Z-Works, but by vetoing the entire ARPA plan, it doesn't matter what's in the budget or not. You have to have both for it to work. And if you'll let me, then I would like to move that the town council override all line items and language that were vetoed by the mayor in ordinance 2023-43, which is the ordinance to amend the 2024 non-DLGF budget.
Second.
I got a first by Councilor Garrett and second by Councilor Traylor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Moving on to new business. Again, similar to the code rewrites of past meetings, quite a few of these I would imagine we'll go through pretty quickly. Heather, if you would have given us just a high level on all of them, and then we can certainly make whatever amendments the new administration or counselors would like, and department heads, et cetera, as we go through. So first item on new business is consideration of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances to amend parking, stopping, and standing rules. This is ordinance 2023-45.
Currently, this draft does the following. It just adds a section to clarify which department monitors the regulations for the chapter, which is the Department of Public Works. And if there are any comments we receive, I'll review those. I don't believe I received any yet on this one, but between now and the next meeting, if so, I'll be bringing back an amendment.
Any questions from counselors?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-45 on first reading.
Introduce on first reading.
Second.
I got a first by Counselor Garrett, a second by Counselor Choi. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is consideration of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 99. This is animals. This is ordinance 2023-46, also first reading. Heather?
Yep, this proposed draft would do the following and adds a department, which would be the police department, to regulate the chapter, removes language that's duplicative in the penalties section, adds a reference to state laws that are being made as part of this chapter, corrects the definition of department in the definitions section. There's a couple of typos in the original ordinance and removes a duplicate section on animal fecal matter and animal defecation, nothing like that first thing in the morning. And then corrects the typo, adds some facilities to go along with persons who are prohibiting from keeping or harboring dangerous animals. I did get some notes back from the administration on the dangerous animals section, so I will be reviewing that. Got that at the end of last week, and then I'll bring that forward to all of you with a note and a revision.
Very good. Any questions from Heather?
I move to accept on first reading ordinance 2023-46.
Yeah, we're just introducing this on first
sorry,
reading. Yeah, that's all right.
introduce.
Yeah, so I got a first by Counselor Choi. Second by Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is the consideration of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 100. This is trees and flora. Ordinance 2023-47. Also first reading. Heather?
Yes, so this is just changing the or adding a department of charge, which would be the Department of Parks and Recreation and the Department of Public Works. And it also adds a title for the chapter. This is the one that I did note that Pizzazz is planning a more comprehensive recommendation on. I want to thank Pauline Coder for reaching out. And we had a great conversation about kind of where they're headed. I know they're working with, I think, Lance and with Jared, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll, if you would like, you can go ahead and introduce it on first reading. We can circle up with them at the first of the year and determine if you want to pass it or wait for a more comprehensive recommendation.
Appreciate that. Any questions for Heather? I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2023-47 on first reading.
Second.
Second by Counselor Garrett. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a consideration of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances for smoking and tobacco prohibited in public places. This is ordinance 2023-48. Heather?
Yes, so this proposed draft continues the policy that Zionsville have that is actually a little bit stricter than state statute in terms of prohibiting smoking in public places. It relocates the enforcement section at the top of the chapter to be consistent with just how we're formatting the other ordinances in this rewrite. It edits the definition of place of employment to align it to state statute. It edits the definition of public place to make sure it's also consistent with state statute. And then it removes sections 9B through D where smoking and tobacco are not regulated. And then, and that is specific to state statute as well. This one I know is being reviewed by the administration. I do have some comments back, so I will take a look and make sure we've got all of those incorporated before final reading.
Great, thank you. Questions from counselors? I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2023-48 on first reading.
Second.
Second by Counselor Choi. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a consideration of an ordinance authorizing investments and deposits. This is ordinance 2023-49. This is first reading. And we have Cindy Poor here. If there are any questions, Director of Finance and Records, and also Heather can answer questions as well.
I would just share with the council, this is a policy that we've had in place for a number of years that has expired. We are just establishing the investment and deposit policy for the town. This is something that's required by the State Board of Accounts. And the language is largely driven in state statute as well as State Board of Accounts guidelines. I don't know if Cindy has anything additional to add, but that's what we're working to accomplish here.
Heather, if this is required by State Board of Accounts, is this something that you would recommend we suspend the rules and have done prior to the end of the year?
I would. I think that would be fantastic. And then when we have our audit, we'll have all of our compliance policies in place.
Cindy, are you thumbs up, thumbs down? You good with that? Cindy's got a thumbs up back there. Are there any questions from counselors? Nope. Then I will make a motion to introduce on first reading ordinance 2023-49.
Second.
Second by Counselor Garrett. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
A second by Counselor Garrett. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion or all those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-49 on final reading.
Second.
Second by Counselor Choi. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, council, for walking through that. Up next is a consideration of ordinance authorizing acceptance of payments by debit and credit cards. This is ordinance 2023-50. We also have Cindy here as well as Heather to speak on this. And I would just point out to council, this is something that the administration has wanted for a little while now. And obviously we had requested Baker Tilly and their efforts to come in and help with internal controls and everything that they've been doing. And really just wanted to get comfortable with the progress that they've had before we put this on the agenda. So Heather, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
No, this is also a recommendation from the State Board of Accounts to have a policy on accepting debit and credit cards. It allows you to charge a convenience fee to cover any fees that would be charged by the credit card company. Our ordinance says up to $3. It also has language regarding the internal checks and balances and internal controls that are necessary regarding credit cards and debit cards, including making sure that information is stored securely and that only certain individuals have access to the information. This is also one recommended, as I said, by the State Board of Accounts, so you may wish to consider this for final reading as well.
Any questions from counselors? If you'll bear with me, I wouldn't mind going through that similar process or the same process there too. I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2023-50 on first reading.
Second.
Second by Counselor Garrett. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Would also like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Second by Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-50 on final reading.
Second.
Second by Counselor Garrett. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you very much. Up next is the consideration of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, amending the noise ordinance. This is 2023-51, 2023-51. This is also first reading. Heather, is there anything you'd like to run through here?
Yes, so this draft adds a section to clarify that the police department is responsible for regulating noise. Adds standards to the ordinance that'll be used to identify whether an unlawful noise exists, and there is a list of those standards. Adds clarity in the penalty section by inserting of disorderly conduct to show which kind of violation this is. I think I also received late last week a comment on this from the administration. I'll take a look at that. I've not reviewed it yet, but we may have some changes here. If anybody does have any changes, please let us know. Otherwise, we did not make any additional substantive changes in the introduced version.
Very good. Any questions for Heather? I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2023-51 on first reading. Second by Counselor Melton. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is the consideration of an ordinance to amend the 2023 salary ordinance. This is ordinance 2023-52. This is first reading. Heather, is there anything you'd like to walk through here?
So we've had a lot of conversation about this over the last several weeks and months. Some additional conversation since our last meeting. I want to thank Tim Berry for his help as well as Amy Nooning. We are recommending for payment for Chief Van Gorder related to the litigation expenses that he was not compensated for, that there be an amendment. So it'd be a one-time amendment to the salary ordinance for 2023 in the amount of $50,000, which would pay the legal fees as well as any taxes related to the payment of those fees. Since this is additional compensation, there would be a tax requirement. So we've tried to gross that up to accommodate for that tax burden. And it's again, only for a one-time payment.
Heather, because this is the 2023 salary ordinance, is this also something you would recommend suspending the rules and approving?
I would, yeah, we would really like to
Probably
see
have
this
to.
get paid this year. This has been an ongoing point of conversation now for a couple of years. So I would recommend to the council that you consider this for final reading.
Can the mayor veto this even?
Yes.
Yes.
And that's something good to address when she vetoes this, because I know we had the deputy mayor here and stated that this was an agreeable way of doing this.
For the record, this is their desired
This is
method
their
to do
plan,
this.
right? I
That's
understand.
correct. Yeah.
But all logic aside, the mayor is going to veto this. And when she does, I just want to encourage the next council to make this right, because what was done here was completely outside of any standard HR, policies, procedures. Put this man through hell for no good reason. And all we're trying to do is make him financially right. We'll never be able to make it right what was done to him. But we do need to make this financially right. And I guess that brings me to another question, because I know we're gonna hopefully vote for this and suspend the rules and make everything happen now. And this is in public. I'm going to try to not put myself in any liability here, but so Heather, stop me when I do. But knowing that there's an accusation out there that the mayor has not been residing in Zionsville since May 8th. And I believe the individual that sent all of us the accusation is also sending it to the state. If it is found that the mayor was serving outside of her legal authority, what happens for everything that happened between May 8th and now? I mean, that's a lot.
It would be a lot. I don't know that we've had that precedent before.
And just
in
for the record,
state.
we didn't bring this up. This
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
from somebody I've never heard of. Yeah, but pretty detailed.
I have not had the opportunity to review any of that information. I would tell you, I think it would be very unprecedented. And I'm not sure, if a court would rule that there wasn't, it wasn't a legally held office at the time, whether it would invalidate any of the actions that have been, taken place in that time frame. It would be very unprecedented. So it would definitely be new ground. So I'm going to have to say to be determined. I'm sorry, that's a very unsatisfactory answer, but it would be very unprecedented.
All right.
Heather, I just want to confirm, mine maybe not as a detailed question as Councilor Traylor's, but maybe less interesting. If we pass this, the mayor vetoes it, I assume the next council, should they choose, can override a veto of a mayor who is no longer serving, correct? It's just a continuity
Oh,
of.
yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, very good.
And along the same lines, or a questioning here regarding the veto. Our reorganization requires that the veto be heard at the next.
Regular
Regular-
or special meeting. I did.
Oh, we can't have a
confirm-
special
I
meeting.
did confirm that. I do have my little, I have so many papers today, but
Clear your calendars for Friday.
yeah,
For New Year's.
I did look at
That'd be-
that. It says at the next regular or special meeting of the council, I believe. I know, I brought a lot of papers from my reorg paper.
Well, I guess, we just need to probably shore that up over the next 10 days
Yeah.
to confirm that, so.
Be
All
there.
right.
I'll be
Question,
there.
what's that?
I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll make a point.
I'll be there. All right, any questions or any comments or anything from any counselors?
Make a motion to introduce on first reading ordinance 2023-52.
Second.
I got a first by Counselor Garrett, a second by Counselor Traylor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed 7-0 opposed.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second, I'll second that. First by Counselor Garrett, second by President Plunkett. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, none opposed.
President Plunkett, just sorry, I found my right paper here for the council's information in the reorganization in ZR2A18. It states in section C that whenever an ordinance, order, or resolution is vetoed by the mayor, it is considered defeated unless the town council at its first regular or special meeting after the 10-day period. So you do have an option for a special meeting.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion on final reading to approve ordinance 2023-52.
Second.
I got a first by Counselor Garrett, second by Counselor Colt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a consideration, actually, before we move on from there, Heather, I just want to, so the mayor has 10 days from today. Can we notice a special meeting
In anticipation.
in anticipation of this? Like, can we just notice a meeting for the 29th?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. All right. Up next is a consideration of a resolution regarding the appropriation of additional funds. This is 2023 year end, resolution 2023-17. And we have Cindy Poor, Director of Finance and Records, here to speak through this. Morning, Cindy.
Morning. This is, along with the next one that comes up, kind of a regular year-end process that we go through to make sure that all of our lines are in place prior to the end of the year. As you'll notice, there are a lot of these in here that where we have received money, it just needs to be appropriated. Now, there are a few that it is additional funds. But here again, most of it is funds that have been received that need to be appropriated to a line.
Under finance, it is stated this is for consulting, the $10,000. What
Mhm.
consulting?
Some of it was Crow. We've had a lot of that going on this year between consulting and our contractual services. And so we just ended up being short a little bit.
Cindy, do you know what the legal fees are for? Out of curiosity?
Let's see here, that one. Is that for the
This is general.
1400 C?
Yeah.
Okay. I do not. I know that a lot of times they have to use attorneys with a lot of the deals and stuff that they have come through. And so as busy as they've been, I would say it's just because of the volume of what's come through. But I do not have a specific answer for that.
And under wastewater, the two items for wastewater are being offsetting entries from, what does that mean?
So the one that you're speaking of, this was something that as we were going through and reconciling everything, something that happened in a prior year. So it's not really money that's out, it's just offsetting, but it's happening in a different year. So we're having to compensate for that.
I'm actually, this is a public hearing. I approve publication of the notice of the public hearing. At this point, I will open the hearing. If there's any members of the public who would like to speak. Seeing none, I will close the hearing. Are there any additional questions from counselors for Cindy? I would make, having none, I would make a motion to approve resolution 2023-27. Second by Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a consideration of a resolution regarding the reappropriation of funds. This is 2023 year end resolution 2023-28.
Here again, another year-end process that we generally go through. Sometimes there may be times where you might overspend in one line, but underspend in another. So it's just moving some budgeted funds around.
Questions for counselors?
The CCD fund, the 352,500 that's being moved to contractual services. I'm just always skeptical of contractual services anymore. So do we know what that was for?
Lance can speak to it, although it is, I know this, I believe if I remember correctly, was an error that happened during budget time that all of it was put into infrastructure and there should have been some that was put into contractual services. So this is making that right. And he can give specifics on.
Mr. Lance?
Yeah, great. Thank you for asking that question. That was an incorrect data entry. When you saw the budget for this year, there were some pathway projects listed for design. And unfortunately, a past administration, when they saw pathway project, they just considered it infrastructure when it's actually for engineering. This is for engineering design along Oak Street, along County Road 875 and along Whitestown Road pathway projects. Those are all the contractual services.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lance. Any questions for Cindy?
Just on, I'm on the golf course one, and we're appropriating from construction to PT salary.
Part-time salary. They had actually a pretty stellar year this year. And so they ended up having to work their part-time help a lot more than what was anticipated when budgeted. And these are just dollars that were left over in some of these line items. And so they're moving it to help with the abundance of part-time help that they needed this year.
So those dollars are being spent this year.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Anything else from counselors? I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-28. Second by Counselor Choi. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. All right. Up next is a consideration of a resolution regarding the appropriation of additional funds. This is for the fire department salary, resolution 2023-29. Heather, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
This is just appropriating additional funds to cover the additional 50,000 in compensation related to the salary ordinance amendment that was just passed by the council. There should be proof of publication. We also published this.
As Heather mentioned, this is a public hearing. I approve the publication of the notice of public hearing. At this point, I will open the hearing. If there's any members of the public who would like to comment. Having none, I will close the public hearing. Any questions from counselors?
Make a motion to approve.
We got first by
Second.
Counselor Trailer, second by Counselor Culp. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Last item of new business is annual certifications of compliance with conflict of interest and nepotism policy. Amy, is this something you'd like to carry for us?
Yeah, this is just something we have to do every year to comply with State Board of Accounts. And to also to comply with our ordinance regarding conflict of interest and nepotism. All council members must complete compliance with the town's nepotism policy involving direct line supervision and the compliance with the contracting with the town by a relative policy. And those forms have to be completed and submitted on an annual basis by December 31st of each year. So I'm passing those down to you right now. If you could sign those and return those at the end of the meeting.
Make sure you grab the one with your name on it.
Yes, but yeah.
Amy, do we usually do this at the end of the year? It would seem like you'd want to do it at like the beginning of the year so people are kind of aware of it.
Yeah, normally we do it earlier in the year. We did not this year, so that's why. And then we were revising that ordinance, which we revised at the last meeting, was 2023-30. The original ordinance is 2012-10. And it was another one that was just kind of housekeeping items that Heather updated. But yeah, normally we do it closer to the beginning of the year.
So I had a window to hire all my relatives before this.
Yeah.
Dang it, I missed it.
All right. Make sure Amy gets those. There's 2 of them here. So make sure Amy gets those when you guys head out. All right.
Want to pass them back this way? I'll gather them up.
We have one more item here, or special presentation, and I'm actually going to go down here for that one. If we could have the outgoing counselors, Counselor Trailer, Counselor Garrett, Counselor Culp, and Counselor Choi, come down to the front, please. This is your road.
I wore my best suit for this.
I would just say, as you guys are walking down here, we've had a number of folks over the last year or few years talk about, what this council's done and the work that we've put in. Just a quick list, not an exhaustive list, but just the work that this council's put in to help fund miles of pathways, 2 roundabouts out on Oak Street over the last couple of years. Certainly navigated COVID very, very well under the leadership of Counselor Garrett and Trailer. You'll recall we established Public Safety Task Force to work with schools and police and fire. We worked diligently to pass operationally balanced budgets, certainly with Counselor Garrett's help this year. We funded, this council funded the Carpenter Nature Preserve, supported Winterfest. The accomplishments of this council, I think, many times go unnoticed because we don't have a voice outside of this meeting. And, a lot of times there aren't folks, as many folks tuning in here as they might be reading a newspaper. I would point out that you guys have been a tremendous help to me personally, as when I first came in 2017, caucused, working with Counselor Garrett and Counselor Trailer to understand what the difference might be between an ordinance and a resolution, like just understanding the basics. And it is like drinking from a fire hose at times. And you guys have been very helpful. All four of you in times where we're trying to figure out, how to position things on a budget, or on an agenda, what should go on an agenda, what type of support you might have for various agenda items. It's very helpful from the president's perspective to have support and your guys' leadership on this council, and you'll be greatly missed. So I wanted to take Amy and Lance and others have, worked on this. We've got some bricks that have your name, town council, the years that you were on the council. For those of you that were involved in leadership, on the back of the council, it'll have your president and vice president positions on there as well. Joe, I didn't put anything on here about your police commissioner's position, but I appreciate your work and leadership on that as well. Councilor Garrett, you'll see that on yours, you've got president from 2017 to 21, vice president in 17. So we just wanted to make sure you guys had these. I appreciate all of your work, and I'm going to bring these over to you. So thank you very much. They're like, when Amy's like, I didn't even have it. Thank you, guys. All right. All right. Last item on the agenda is other matters. Are there any other matters or anything any counselors would? Counselor Melton, you're looking at me like there's something there.
Yep, we still have a few appointments to boards and commissions, I think, for 2024. Is that correct? So I just want to reach out and just let the public know that they should reach out if they have any of their passions or talents or skills that they want to utilize on some of these boards and commissions. It's very important that you reach out to us, the mayors. You can reach out to the mayor, or you can reach out to the counselors, and we'll get you an application. And we would appreciate those people that want to be part of the town of Zionsville.
I have one thing. I don't want to speak for the other counselors that are going out, but this has been an incredible journey for me over the last 4 years, an honor and a privilege to be able to serve this town. Gotten to know many of the residents, and it is an incredible place. I do encourage, in follow up to Councilor Melton's comments, those of you wanting to serve in public office, it is an incredible experience, and the opportunity to work with people like those up here, Amy and Heather, and the administration, the department heads, has been incredibly invaluable. I am grateful to those counselors that are replacing us to serve, and so thank you very much for this opportunity.
We won't turn this into speeches, but I will miss the staff. You guys are awesome. You guys are the ones that make this work, not us. So thank you. And Jason, you've done a great job as president. So same to you, Brad.
Agreed. Thank you to the staff. Appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I got a first from Councilor Garrett and a second from Councilor Trailer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. The next regular town council meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 2nd, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the Zionsville Town Hall Council Chambers. Public notice will be posted in compliance with the Indiana Open Door Law. Thank you very much and Merry Christmas.